Good evening. Security forces are on the spot for alleged acts of kidnap, torture and harassment of Ugandans, mainly those perceived to hold dissenting views with government. Many families, especially in Central Region, are still searching for their loved ones who recently President Museveni confirmed are in the hands of security agencies. Just yesterday, the military police descended on an armed journalist who were covering the National Unity Platform president as he petitioned the United Nations. But is the situation moving out of hand? And could this be a repeat of Uganda's dark political past? Tonight we host the Honorable Jackson Kafuzi, Deputy Attorney General, Honorable Semuju Uganda, Opposition Chief Whip, and Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki, Deputy Army Spokesperson. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having honored our invitation. A warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me begin with you, the man in uniform, Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki. The UPDF, as a military institution, I suppose, works on command and control. What happened yesterday to see foot soldiers beating journalists to pulp, that bestial act could not have happened without somebody at the top sanctioning it. Who did it?
Thank you, Patrick. Allow me, since we are at a distance, I take off the mask so that I explain myself and the entire UPDF in a better way. First of all, no Ugandan is supposed to be beaten. That one is very clear. And nobody, no Ugandan, leave alone a journalist, is supposed to be tortured or mistreated in any way. For yesterday, to go to your question of there must be command. In the army, there is what they call precedences of command. Is what we call tactical command, which is at the very lower level, is what we call operational command, and is what we call strategic command or mission command. Okay? I would put the president and probably the CDF and other strategic leaders at the mission command. I'd put the division commanders and other commanders of that level at the operational command, and put what happened yesterday at the tactical command. All of these commands receive orders differently. If a strategic command, which is mission command, gives a mission to the operational commander gives orders to the tactical commander. If a tactical commander is told that there is mission A, B, C, and how he executes it at the ground depends on him. An incident of yesterday, there was a tactical commander called Captain Jesse, who executed the operation. There were other operational commanders that not necessarily were on ground, but they were guiding. I want to give an example. If I'm given a missile to go and destroy a certain enemy or a certain target, if I shoot it and it misses the target and it hits a building, at that tactical level, I'm held accountable. It's not necessarily that the person who gave the missile to hit the enemy and the person hit aside is responsible.
Okay, I know you're trying to labor. You're trying to exonerate the senior officers from this chain of command that made us see that bestial act in Kololo yesterday. But I just want to see the nature of the attack on the members of the Fourth Estate. If you look at the wounds of these people, really, the wounds are not on their foreheads. The wounds are on their back heads, indicating you are hitting people who are running away from you, indicating you are hitting people who are walking away. What is the purpose of doing that if it has not been premeditated through your chain of command?
Actually, it is not premeditated,
It
and
is.
that's why.
Because if you
That's
wanted
why
to
the seven of
restrain
them.
them,
That's
Captain
why
Deo,
the seven of them.
Colonel Deo, I'm sorry.
We are
Colonel
taken to
Deo,
court.
if you wanted to restrain them, to stop them, and they are not coming, we would have expected you, if they are confronting you, you'd have hit them on their foreheads. These are people moving away.
Kamara, you are just answering your own question. If a soldier is doing exactly what you are saying, and the bosses or the commanders reprimand him, what does that mean? The CDF today came out very clearly, first of all, and apologized to the media fraternity, to the Ugandans, because these were not only media people, there were other people who were being chased and clobbered, who were seeing all of us. And the CDF came out clearly. One, apologized to them and other Ugandans who were involved. Secondly, promised to take action, which was taken actually. He had promised in 2 days' time you will see action. It did not even take 2 days. And these soldiers are charged and sentenced and punished.
Wait a minute, Captain Kano Akiki, because look, is it the same Muhozi who's presiding over that maze in Kololo where journalists are beaten, and 1 minute later the same Muhozi who's cleaning up the maze? Or maybe there are two.
You see, when he was giving his speech, he promised one thing. He was asked, how can we be sure that this is not going to be repeated? He restrained himself from saying he can't rule out that something else happening that is almost like this. Why? We are an institution of above 50,000, and you can't be sure when a mistake comes out. Even in our own homes, you can train your children, you can have the members of your family in control, but one at one moment comes out and does something that is not palatable to the family. This happens also in the UPDF. It happens in any other force or in any other society. We have seen this happening in political circles, in religious circles. I don't want to mention the names. These activities, these things have been happening.
What is on the spot
What
now
is important?
is the Uganda People's
Yes.
Defense Forces, and
The other day it was another
that are
institution.
shameful, because there has been a pattern. You cannot say this is an isolated incident happening yesterday. Journalists were beaten in Luka, they were beaten in Masaka. In 2018, we saw Akena being beaten in broad daylight in front of international television cameras. He went down, he was on his knees, he surrendered with his camera, and they beat him again and again and again.
That's why I said that that one individual person can do something, and of course it puts in bad light to everyone. For example, what is important in the case of Akena? What was done? What did the institution do to make sure that they do repairs? And I'm very sure if Akena is watching, he knows that the institution
repeated the same
took it over and did the needful. And
Kano Akiki, the institution repeated the same crimes yesterday.
this institution has not stopped to live. These are individuals who are born from the same society. Like you see people within other institutions doing the same thing.
So that's your norm. That's your norm
No,
now.
it's not a norm. It's out of the 50,000 plus. How many do it?
You know,
can we do a research and see that? Then two, maybe another thing I need to bring out very quickly, circumstantial. What are the circumstances? In which period did these activities go beyond a certain level? If you look at the period other than the Akena incident in 2018, these incidents have been escalating during this time of politicking. I wouldn't want to go into politics. I don't like it. But you can see that these incidents increased during this time of campaigns. And immediately after elections, they reduced. Unfortunately, yesterday, another incident comes up. But after a law. And I have a feeling that once this politicking period goes off, these incidents will go down or will get out of the public. But you know, we are not condoning. It was very bad for these journalists to be caned. These are the people we work with. These are partners. These are, you know, Kamara have been with the media for the last 18 years. I feel very bad, me as Deo, and I represent an institution which feels bad. That's why the whole commander of the UPDF, the Chief of Defense Forces, comes out to put it clear that this is wrong. But
now you understand that the shining pips of your uniform are tainted with the blood of some people now.
Where?
There was blood. Blood was shed.
Blood was shed.
Yeah.
And we are saying this is wrong. And we are correcting that. And you have heard the CDF has actually put up certain guidelines. One, he said, you see, apologizing is one of the remedies. I was listening to someone who was actually saying, no, we can't take apologies anymore. But apologies is one of the remorseful way somebody can show that actually is sorry for this. Two, he has put up actually another concrete thing that in the training curriculum in the near future, which we have already started but it has not yet been fully formalized, that we know now the importance of the media, and we must include training on media relations, training on media matters, on how to handle the media by our soldiers. It's true that the army has been going through a professionalization process, but there are some elements that have not been fully incorporated. Only a few times we have done media embedments in Somalia. We have not done them in most of our operations. Thirdly, he has promised to, of course, help and pay bills for those who got injuries, their hospital bills. So, I mean, all of those things that he promised, you can see that they have not been taking place, is showing a force that is remorseful for the acts of some dirty elements within it, okay, and he has taken measure and punished them. To me, this is very important.
Honorable Jackson Kafuzi, you are Deputy Attorney General, and the rule of law in Uganda should just be coming fast. But really, we have increasingly seen cases of violence, cases of human rights abuse, of harassment, of kidnaps, now beating members of the Fourth Estate. The country we love so much is so damaged before nations around the world. In fact, we are becoming a pariah state.
Patrick and our viewers, I'm going to perhaps disappoint you in my response to that. One, I do not condone what happened. I condemn it in the strongest terms possible. But the fact that I'm the Deputy Attorney General, I hold the office that tomorrow those who feel that their rights have been trampled upon may go to court against my office to seek redress. It puts me in an awkward situation to come here, discuss it, because I could give them the actual evidence, the video recording, to carry to court and say, even the Attorney General said this and this. You understand?
What's wrong with telling the truth if it is the truth, so long as you're not going to lie?
The most I can say is that I condemn whatever happened.
So long as you state the facts, like how can you feel embarrassed about the facts, even if they come tomorrow? What's wrong with that? Because I know you'll be telling us the facts.
The most I can say is that I condemn whatever happened yesterday. I believe it shouldn't have happened, and in all honesty, it should not happen again. I was very happy that the CDF came out candidly to show leadership and acknowledge what happened, and pledged to redress the situation. It is very unfortunate that our colleagues, journalists and members of the public had to go through that. Let us hope that it will not happen again. We condemn it in the strongest terms possible.
Doesn't it really, bother you that here is a man who is trying to go and report petition because of human rights violations to the United Nations office, and right there in their face, rights are abused of members of the state. I mean, how can the government and the military get it so wrong to that extent?
You know, Patrick, just like the UPDF spokesperson has said, once in a while you may have a rogue element, or someone can go rogue within a process. It's not a mission. It's not a mission. It's not a rogue team. But once in a while you have one bad apple that spoils the rest of the others and gives that bad impression. I believe that's what happened yesterday, and it is unfortunate.
So if there's no impunity, Honorable Kafuzi, we saw in November last year, riots in Kampala. People were killed. Over 50 people were killed. Has there been any soldier, any person who pulled the trigger to kill those people, who has been brought to book?
That's a matter that is currently under investigation. The president has pledged to investigate it.
For
the prime
heaven's
minister is on
sake,
record.
these were
for the
men
same.
and women deployed on the streets of Kampala. People died. There was blood on the streets of Kampala. In last year, up to today, no one has paid for the crimes that were committed there. So why can't Ugandans see that there is impunity and total disregard of human life by the government in power?
Patrick, once again, I can say that I condemn whatever happened. But I'm very well aware that whatever happened when we were in the middle of a campaign. And probably the powers that ought to have been entrusted with the investigations did not take it up at the time. But the president has come out, he came out clearly, and the prime minister is on record for that investigations are going to be undertaken, and I'm sure they are already underway.
But you know, justice,
we shall know.
You know, justice delayed, really, the justice denied.
Yeah, but it's the
because
circumstances under which we operate.
They lost their loved ones, the breadwinners. They need justice.
Yes.
And they needed it yesterday.
And it is very unfortunate.
Okay.
But the matter is still under investigation.
So when 50 people die, and no one is punished for that, and we've moved to another year, and these things also happen, really, we just have to deduce
Patrick,
that impunity is ruling supreme.
On behalf of the government, I want to say that you give us some more appropriate time. An investigation is underway, and the truth will come out. Whoever was involved will be brought to book, and we shall know.
Honorable Ibrahim Semoju, you are now a people's representative, but you're also a journalist. And what happened yesterday, it could have been you on the streets back in the day when we used to be journalists together looking for news. You're a journalist, but also a people's representative. How do you appreciate these things? How can Parliament defend us?
Let me begin with the background. About 10 days ago, I went to Parliament crying because one of my constituents had been kidnapped. Kidnapped by men who were in the vehicles that have come to be baptized the drone. That boy, 24 years, he was selling chicken in Chireka Central Market. Yesterday, an anonymous person called the market because I raised the matter. The Honorable J.J. Odong came to give a response and said, you come, this guy is going to be produced in a court martial in Kachiri. So eventually now, J.J. said, we don't know where he is. Now he has emerged in the barracks in Kachiri, and thank God he has been released. Another constituency, my neighbor in Chirinya, where I stay after Nambole, he had gone to Mukono to work at a construction site. He was arrested by those famous 17 boys from Chiswera in Mukono, taken by people driving the same vehicles. They packed them, took them somewhere, and they were beating them every single day. At one time telling them, if Chagulanyi wins these elections, you are going to die. And every day they are waiting to die. They didn't know even the dates because you are blindfolded. So that boy was one of the 17 that eventually were taken back to Mukono and abandoned in a sugarcane plantation. I think maybe after Mr. Museveni spoke, like the case of Zebra who was killed, he said they got to know that I am involved and then admitted that they had killed him. So this boy, his back has been broken. Everybody who was part of that particular group has been badly beaten. He is the one who told me the story of Asuman Semakula, one of the senior FDC leaders, who was arrested when the military broke into his house, took him at night, and eventually when his family was on TV hearing, they abandoned him somewhere. He went to hospital back home. I looked at these images of journalists being beaten, and I sympathized with all the fellows who are not before cameras, who are in the hands of the akikis in the barracks. If you can beat people the way they beat journalists yesterday, with the cameras recording you, what happens when there are no cameras and you are there alone? These people were taken to centers where, as you said at the beginning of this program, they are leaders. I was on a radio station earlier and I told them my own brother had been arrested and kept at Masaka Kasijagirwa barracks. When Dr. Kizza Besigye was taken there, he called for all the civilians who were being tendered at Kotagan to be brought. And then he ordered, hardly a week into that job, he said those who have cases, take them to police. The ones who don't have cases, they must leave. Kotagan must be for soldiers. These days you have civilians. You charge people for political offenses and you charge them with terrorism because you want them to be tried by the military. Kano Akiki, the moment you reduce yourself into a regime protection force, there will be no stopping. From killing people on the street, to detaining them for months, to beating journalists, you are about to begin shooting yourself. Because your main duty now is not the one that is assigned to you by the Constitution. You have assigned yourself a very difficult job, and that's why you've heard him explain that these incidents have happened around the election. So what are you doing with the elections and politics? Yesterday I keep asking myself, with a dozen journalists going with Kyagulanyi, how did that small matter become a military operation? A small matter of journalists accompanying Kyagulanyi to take a petition. How did it become a military operation? That you need to reinforce police, that you need to bring military vehicles? How? That small matter. In Kororo, where there are no people, no markets, no shops, it's a place with no people. How did it become a military operation? In Uganda, it became a military operation. Why? Kyagulanyi was taking a petition and there were journalists going to cover that event. So you cannot explain away these excesses, and you can't blame them on these innocent souls that you told them and gave them chibok to go and beat. Now you want to sacrifice them and say they are rogue elements. They are not rogue elements. Where is the guy who commanded the killing and the massacre of people in Kasese? Wasn't he promoted? In Kampala here, the explanation by the security was that some 23 people were killed by stray bullets, as if they were raining from heaven. Stray bullets in a gun that you control. I went to Muchaka, and there are stages before a bullet comes out. You have to put it in the safe, you have to open, you have to pull a trigger. And all these processes happen, and they are still telling us these were stray bullets. Please, it's very painful. I looked at the women. The other day the president was on TV, bitter and rightly so, that a man was beating a policewoman. These soldiers of yours were beating female journalists. They were crying, abandon their tools. Their only crime is that they went to do their professional job, and Akiki wants us to believe with a brave face that these are isolated incidents because you are many. So I don't know how many do you want them to be now to say that they have become a pattern and the standard conduct of the military. You kidnap people, you break into their houses, the same thing that Idi Amin used to do. And Obate. This zebra who was killed, even if you had sent to Kanyamas, they would bring him. You break into his house, you kill him. You go to FDC Asuman, you break into his house, take him. No offense. The 17 that you have been keeping of Mukono, you have a list of more than 300 people, including their own list, has more than 200 people. What is their crime? They support Kyagulanyi. They are people power. So, and then you want us to believe, the moment I want to emphasize and repeat that point, the moment you reduced yourselves into a regime protection force, you will be descending on the population. Because you see, to love a person it's optional. You can't force it. So you will have to bring all the guns.
Okay, Kano Akiki, I wonder how you respond to that, but because you need really to respond.
Yeah, sure. One thing is, unfortunately, we are now talking politics. Honorable Samuju is a politician, and he definitely has to talk the way he talks when he calls us protectors of the regime. Any other politician, especially if he's the other side of the political divide, will talk that way. I have no problem with that. He's entitled to his opinion. Which as a politician. Are you, by the way?
You're talking about sides.
I have no side. I'm for Uganda. I'm in uniform.
That's why you're talking about sides.
No, but I know that this country has two sides. I know it. Of course, I have no shying from it. One is, by the way, there are some things that are not unique to Uganda. I have been following up and reading about these arrests that the president came out clearly and explained, which politicians, like Samuju Uganda, happened to call kidnaps.
They are not unique. There's Myanmar.
Well, let me explain them. We have several methods as security how we can effect arrests depending on the situations. Let's not run away from terrorism. When terrorism came into the world, it changed very many things. It's not unique. In 2011, in the UK, there were Land Rovers, actually, which were called pub snatchers. Just go and read about them. They were numberless. They did not have. They could use.
Your drone program is justified by what?
No, I'm not trying to justify, but I want to show you that these scenarios of how security do operations, it's not necessarily that I have to come. It depends on the person who you are going to arrest. If somebody you are going to arrest, you know what can come out of him. You may choose to use other means, and it is allowed. There is a word called covert operations and overt operations, and this is not a new term in any way in any security apparatus of any country. So I wouldn't want even to go there. Fine, there are those lists of people. The president came out with the numbers. I think it's 301 to be exact. And some of these people, I wouldn't want to divulge much because most of these things are under investigations. Others are still in detention. Others have been produced before court. Others are on bail. And this is the process of the law. It is what they call the due process. Those who cannot fit in the non-legal process and they are like delays, there should be legal provisions for that. And if it's not there, then the people in the law know what to do to produce
the institution you serve and the government of Uganda is the business of kidnapping its own people.
Well, it's not kidnapping. I'm saying that is not part of our work.
If those people numberless vehicles appear without any arrest warrant, take out people, and they know where they have taken them, the government is actually in the business of kidnapping its own people.
And who said that every type of arrest should have an arrest warrant?
Well, they should go in a gazetted place of arrest.
Yeah, the Constitution also, the same Constitution.
Why don't you put them in the gazetted places of arrest? Charge them in court of law. If they are guilty, send them to go and serve.
The court of law is a process.
What the Attorney General would be telling you.
The court of law is a process. We can't simply jump, get someone, and tomorrow is in the courts of law, depending on which crime. If you are arrested on terrorism, I can assure you, Honorable Samuju knows that there is a law that allows somebody to be kept beyond the known 48 years.
No, ask the Attorney General is there. We don't have any law in Uganda.
I know at least he will
can tell you.
But if anything to do with terrorism has certain dynamics.
Deputy Attorney, these things, are they justifiable? Why is the government of Uganda in the business of abducting its own people? If they are arrested, why can't they arrest them in a proper manner, take them to gazetted places of detention, charge them in court, and send them to Luzira if they're guilty?
The Constitution is very clear. If any person is suspected of having committed an offense and is arrested, he should be produced within 48 hours. And what we usually have in procedure is if you are still under investigation and the investigations are not complete, they are supposed to have what we call a holding charge. So that you are then produced in court in order to abide with the law, and then you are officially remanded, such that your people know that you are in a gazetted detention center. So that when the actual investigations are done and they are complete, and they produce a different offense under that charge, the charge sheet can be amended and you are reproduced and then charged afresh. Basically, that is the procedure.
But the reality is different in the case of the 17 and the 301.
I don't know if they have not been produced in any courts of law. I don't know if they are not under any form of holding charge, one under which they have been produced for remand purposes. Because if they were not, probably their next of kin would be free to apply for habeas corpus.
I suppose you listen to the people's representative who is telling you some members in his constituency, you know, the cries of the people he represents. Unless you think he's lying before the people of Uganda tonight.
I can give you more information. The Minister for Internal Affairs, Honorable J.J. Odong, when we raised these matters, he came to Parliament. In his statement, he said he gave us a list of 40 people. That is the list he had. And he said the 10 of them, either 11, he gave circumstances of their arrest. He said in the case of the others, we are still investigating, we don't know where they are. Statement on record in Parliament.
And it has since changed.
Of course, when you abandon the group in Mukono, when you call Chirekala, there is one in Kachiri, you come and stand, should it
if the one you are keeping says that we were working with so and so, you will also join.
No. If Akik had only listened, if he had only listened to the Attorney General, let me tell you, you are not the first army. I interviewed the Brigadier Sevagara, I don't know whether he's still a brigadier, who joined the army immediately after independence. I was helping him to do his autobiography. He told me the army under Obote, the first Obote, they had operations in Rwenzori. That even when they went for those operations, they usually went with the police unit. Because he says the army has no business with the suspect. That the people we got from Rwenzori in a military operation were being handed over to a police unit in the rear. That's the army that we had. Yours goes to arrest civilian, and if you can't find any excuse, you charge them with terrorism and take them to court-martial and I don't know where. Others, you've not even charged them. He was in the army, 60s. They go for a pure military operation with the police unit in the rear because the army has no business with the civilian. For you, you have become everything, police, court, detention. You take them to your places. The 17 of Mukono up to now, none of them knows where he had been kept. All that they remember is beating, and you can see their body. The boy was on NTV here, the one in Chirinya. His back is broken. He can't walk properly. And Akik says these are isolated incidents. You see, for them, they are such a good army. There is absolutely no difference between you and any past army that this country has had. If anything, you are worse because you are living in a completely different time. I can understand these people who are being picked in markets with people. And the army headed by a person with a master's degree in law. And you are the one who's kidnapping people and justifying.
Have you ever seen those who are picked, investigated and produced and police takes over and the process continues? Have you ever heard of that?
The Constitution says first you go to arrest their procedures. You tell me why you are arresting me. My next of kin, if medical and lawyers are informed. And the people who made the Constitution, I was young in school, the reason they did so was because of the past. What you are saying, governments were under stress. You have not been under any stress. Museveni's military was in the center here. Charigonza was operating in Namugongo. Pecos Kutesa was operating here, going to bomb fuel depots in industrial area. But even then, the makers of the Constitution said, we are tired of this past. Today, if you go to arrest a person, as the Attorney General said, inform that person why you are arresting him. Let you inform the next of the kin. Allow him access either to medical or to his lawyer. And you must not keep that person beyond 48 hours. Okay. You are keeping them months and beating them.
Kano Kiki, when we see these episodes of violence, by men and women in uniform, is it just impunity at the lowest level by his foot soldier, or maybe there's some degree of sabotage and you don't know?
I don't agree completely that there could be a degree of sabotage. This is an army with a very clear-headed leadership and which takes action on every individual soldier. And by the way, we are on record. UPDF has been on record from even the worst times of LRA and all of those insurgencies we have been through. We have never closed an eye to any member of the UPDF. And I don't see this unique. We have even had situations.
I'll give you an example.
We have had situations.
In November, when people died, nobody has been punished.
No, but the process of the law is still on. The Attorney General told you the circumstances that could have led to the delays. And we all must accept that during that time of campaigns, very many officers and people who were supposed to be doing some, be part of the processes were not available. Probably that is the reason. I don't want to go there. I'm not a lawyer. But we have some people who have been produced at courts of law. You have been seeing this. And I think a huge number of most of the people that I remember in the list of the president that he talked about, there is a certain legal process that had taken place. Well, I'm not in police. The police is taking much part of that area. But if you called Enanga here, he will show you all of these people who have been arrested, they have gone a form of legal process. If somebody has not, this country, at least everybody seems to believe that the legal system is working. And if somebody is not produced, is arrested and not produced anywhere, somebody has a right to ask for that person to be produced in courts of law. Unless another one saying, I applied for, is it habeas corpus, and somebody has not been produced.
Can Wakik help me?
I have not yet seen those.
When you arrested Justin Duke of FDC, and his family was on TV crying, you abandoned him somewhere. Why did you just abandon him?
By the way, who arrested? Was it
Why did you just abandon?
Was it joint security, including police and every other person?
Why did you just abandon Asuman Semakura somewhere? The 17 we're talking about are living human beings. They are there. You drove them to Mukono in the sugarcane plantation, threw them, and then you drove away.
Which action have you taken?
Why should I take?
Their representative.
Okay, before
to make sure that the process of the law is...
So you want me to come and arrest you?
Let me have the Deputy Attorney General
If that's what the law says do.
It appears there's a problem with tolerating dissenting views in Uganda.
Not really. We opened up for multi-party, meaning that it is obvious competition is legal, competition is permissible, it is allowed, and we have set a time frame within which to go for multi-party democracy, what can I say? Multi-party democracy bred elections. Meaning that every 5 years we are going for campaigns.
But what we're witnessing...
And in those campaigns, you see, we discussed earlier here about the case of Vesige. And we said in those campaigns, we are free to dissent, to disagree, in order to... And in so doing, we are under obligation to tolerate each other and let the voters make their decision based on who presents a better package to them.
Okay.
Yes.
Gentlemen, we're going to take a break, and on the spot program, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are Honorable Semuju Uganda, Honorable Jackson Kafuzi, and Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki. And I think before we continue this discussion, let me give you, bring a statement that was made by the President sometime back, a few days back.
So what do you fear? Why do you kill anybody? Why? That means the killer doesn't have enough confidence that he will win the argument. So therefore the shortcut is to silence this person don't speak again. So if you are confident about your position, there's no reason why you should kill people in order to silence them, or why you should intimidate them.
I agree with you entirely, Mr. President. But then why is it that some people are intimidated? Why is it that in November 18th, people actually were killed? If it should be the power of persuasion, person with a better argument, the person with a better program and plan, clearly in the field that's not the case.
I hope you're asking me.
Yes, I am.
Patrick, like Deo said, once in a while, some people go rogue. But that's not reflective of everyone's intention. It's not reflective of everyone's mission. Like we were discussing earlier here, as politicians, we have opponents. And some people go about it the wrong way. Others handle their opponents differently, depending on how much threat you perceive and how much humanity there is in you and how calm and collected you are to handle the circumstances. Some people are under stress. Once in a while, when you send a force into the field, you may find one who did not sleep well or had problems with... Actually, there is a joke we have in the legal fraternity, that if you find a judicial officer who has had problems at home and you are going to appear before him, okay, he's likely to carry the anger onto you, even if you are very innocent about it. But that does not mean that legal officers are always like that. And that does not mean that that particular person is always like that. So perhaps it's just the mental state of an individual at any given time.
You know,
yes,
around 2001 or 2006, I don't remember very well, when the president was seeking a mandate to be president again in what they call the third term. I remember him talking about he wants to focus on the army, to professionalize the army. 35 years down the road, you did what you could do in Kololo. We journalists, by the way, as individuals, we are not special at all. I am not special at all. But what they do as ears and eyes of the public is what is noble and what is special. Can't you look at least at what they do? You may not like them, individual journalists. You may not like us, but at least have some respect of what we do as ears and eyes of the people.
By the way, Patrick, professionalization is not only on the behavior of an individual soldier. Professionalization is a very complex thing that involves equipment, that involves ways of fighting, that involves the way you dress, that involves... It's a whole series of very many things. And
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for you to have guided missiles with unguided minds. It doesn't.
Well,
in control of these missiles.
For the past 36 years, from NRA to UPDF, this country has been held together by the security, by UPDF, by NRA, by UPDF, up to where we are today. We have fought very many insurgencies. We have kept the security of this country that actually transformed into a lot of developments in this country, that has transformed into the change of the economy, because there is nothing that can be done which is not hinged on security. And it is the institution of UPDF, if I may not talk for any other security institution, that has largely contributed to those aspects. So it is not fair enough to say that because of incidents of individuals that have happened, therefore the entire professionalization process has gone nowhere. That's not true. I want to go back, to use the same opportunity to go back onto the issue of these incidents vis-a-vis the institution. Let's not separate the institutions of security from Uganda. Kamara, you come from somewhere. I come from somewhere. Honorable Samuju comes from somewhere. a society, a certain society, if some things are happening into a certain society, they are bound to happen in certain institutions. But what we should focus on is how do they happen in these institutions? Who has done them? What has been done? What are the leaders saying? What is the institution saying? And what are they doing? And I think these elements are there for everyone to prove.
We hold you to a higher standard.
It is
because
yes.
you have been trained. So when you come short, we have to ask. You are a trained officer. You are putting on a uniform of Uganda, a country with so much love. We have to hold you to a higher standard.
Kamara, how many cases are brought before courts of law in the public? Sample 50,000 people, the civilians. You get them here. You get 50,000 soldiers. You put them here. Count the levels of indiscipline, of crimes that go on. There are too many. We are talking of about security personnel doing certain things in a wrong way. Have you seen civilians clobbering security personnel? Have you seen soldiers? Have you seen policemen, let me say actually, because they have suffered the most. Have you seen, I have a list of incidents here, of policemen being beaten at work, being cut like the way you have seen what happened to our journalists. You see, this is the same kind of scenario we should create before we judge. We throw a huge judge simply because we are treated in a higher esteem. But let's do research and see how many of these cases, how are they happening in our society? So that we don't detach very much the security to make them too much of angels. We are not from Mars. We are from this world. We are from the same planet. And therefore, when something happens, it's because we are part of the society. What is important is what action have we taken? Are we remorseful? It is very rare to see a whole general coming out and is like, we apologize. This was a very humbling statement. I was before my general. I felt it, and I felt his feeling.
I know.
And I have a feeling that many Ugandans
many people would tell you General Muhoozi, the Chief of Defense Forces, would tell you he's a good man. I hear it from many people that he's a good man. But then, one minute, his forces are doing this, and the other minute, he's apologizing. And I'm asking myself, is he the same Muhoozi?
If it is the actual minute.
You see, the excuse that Colonel Akik is giving is that these excesses mirror the society, and nobody is going to take it. The reason you have a selection process and we entrust you with the equipments that can kill people in their tens is because Kamara has told you we hold you by a different standard. If you come on air and admit that no, you should hold us by the same standard.
I'm not saying that.
Then why do you have to bring society?
We should look at that
because the reason we pick you from society and train you and treat you the way we do is because we are entrusting you with our power. The guns you hold are ours. So the moment you turn those guns on us, you are not different from any criminal anywhere. And I don't like the line manufacturing some facts and wanting us to discuss those facts that are manufactured. UPDF is such a good army. Yes, even Amin, they were not killing every day and every minute. If you brought Amin here, he will tell you there are some rogue elements in my army. Even Obote will say there are some rogue elements in my army. The moment, and I'm very happy, very pleased with this explanation, that these things are happening around this political season. So that's when Uganda has discovered that terrorism is about to bring the country down around the electoral season. So therefore, and I take you back to the point I made earlier. The moment you reduced yourself into a regime protection force.
That is a political statement.
Kamara, in my constituency, my posters, including billboards for which I paid a lot of money, were brought down by the military at night. They park military vehicles, bring down the posters. The day candidate Tibo Hauro came to groundbreak the Kasanga Timatuga Road, his military guards, the SFC, came a night earlier, and the biggest job they did before he arrives was to bring down all my posters. So this is the military. He says now, no, don't bring us into politics. Who is bringing? You are bringing yourself.
But some of those things...
You went to Kampala defacing posters of all the opposition candidates. This lady, soldier who heads the anti-corruption unit in the State House, she lives in my constituency. So she sends the soldiers to go at a border station to demand for an explanation. Why have they put all the opposition posters? Some were taken and beaten. So they had to bring Museveni, whether you like him or not. The questions that you have been asking boys that you have taken are not questions of a military that is interested in security. Why? How is NRM doing in Chira? So we are doing very well. Okay.
Are those questions recorded anywhere? Or they just come and tell you that these are the questions they asked us and you believe it?
Because you provided, you provided the conditions. If you had taken them, if you had arrested them in Mukono, in Chira, taken them to court and they are in Ruzira.
First of all, I don't want to own what you are saying that you have taken them, because
you don't have to. You don't have to. The commander, the commander, the overall commander was on air. He said the CMI, he said the commandos, they are the ones holding these people, and he deployed them on the street. Because I want, okay, I can leave everything else. I want a kick to help me, because I am not a military man, to tell me what was military about journalists covering Kyagulanyi. Just help me understand what was military about that.
Let me tell you, you see, this is why I was telling somebody who sent me a video that it's always good when you are sending a video and you want it explained. Don't act like a situation where somebody, I think, was knocked. There was a lot of allegation. I think that case is still before the courts of law. You wouldn't want to go there. We always need to see the genesis. What could have brought this? Yes, we don't condone what action these soldiers did, but what could... There must have been a situation somewhere that started this. For example, there is a border man who was unfortunately calling an unidentifiable journalist, and the CDF today talked about it, that he encourages journalists always to be identifiable, because sometimes these circumstances become like a war-like situation whereby sometimes Narumanya and Sarumanya, as the Uganda say, end up getting involved. There was a situation where a border who was stopped to wait, having somebody behind. He happened to be a journalist. Later on, it was discovered. Put in the gear of the motorcycle and raised the motorcycle on a standing security personnel. This guy just was saved by his quick action, and he jumped off. Otherwise, the guy after that, he pushed himself to go inside, and fortunately, the security overpowered him. Those kind of circumstances are not shown always. That's why even the CDF today said that we must have cameras. Security forces must have cameras when they are going on a mission to put up their facts. Because we have been weak on that every time we have been put on the defense.
But
because all of these clips, you always...
Some of these assaults have been in the public glare. I've given you an example of Akena.
Who puts them
I've given an example of Akena. He identified himself. He has a camera. He's down on his knees. He has surrendered.
And indeed, that was something accepted by everyone.
But
the person who was involved
so what is it you need?
If you can help me, my question is very simple. How did journalists covering Kyagulanyi become a military operation?
That's what I wanted to
Because there was a border.
I want to explain to you. By the way, one thing is, Honorable Samuju cannot rule out us not being... This is an architecture, is a plan which was done way before the elections. And the joint security operations are still on.
Which plan are you talking about?
I'm talking of the joint security operations for security of the elections, for election security. This is something which will go on. And I remember I said it on camera, that we are still around until at a time when we think that we no longer need to give police any support. That one is open. So when you say an operation now, within this period, when that joint security architecture has not yet been disbanded. We shall be there. Then another situation. It is not a must that we must be a one-to-one police soldier to justify our jointness. No, as long as the command, the chain of command where we report, the leading agency is police. Even if a unit, even if a battalion of UPDF goes under operation, the commander knows that he reports to the IGP. It still remains joint. So jointness does not necessarily mean that it has to be soldiers only. Yesterday there was a journalist who sent to me, I said, no, first ask police because it is the leading agency. He said, no, how can I ask police, but these are soldiers? I said, but they are policemen, are you not seeing them? For example, when these cut-off points were being made, where the journalists were actual and other people stopped that from here, it's only these people who are going to the UN compound. There was a commander there of police who was actually the overall on that place, and other lower commanders knew what they were doing. So this element of saying that what are we doing in this environment, it is still the jointness.
There was a command of the police, and I've since had people there saying the police on their part, they did their job, but you did not. What was his sense? You stopped them, they turned back. You chase, you go on hot pursuit. You actually went on hot pursuit. For what purpose?
And that's why those people were charged.
And went on hot pursuit.
Anybody who does
even in the theater of war, as a journalist, I know when you're hitting your enemy, you leave an exit strategy.
They exited anyway,
but for you, actually, you didn't want even for them to leave, and you went on hot pursuit.
You see, what you are mentioning, some of those mistakes you are mentioning are the mistakes that led to what is happening today, that has led to the CDF apologizing and giving measures, that has led to the soldiers being charged. I wouldn't want to go back. This was wrong. Everybody condemns it. You condemn it, I condemn it, he condemns everybody. And that's why actions are taken. And to me, this is something very important. And we must applaud the institution of the army for taking a very, very robust action. Some people, interestingly, are saying, why this first? Why couldn't we first gather people and it is done in public? You know, when you are starting, you ask the Attorney General that justice delayed is justice denied. This is the same answer I was giving them. That for us, we want justice to be done pale, there and then. And people know that action has been taken. And I'm happy for those who are happy about this and have been really thanking the institution of the UPDF for taking a quick action. But of course, there are people who have other intentions and who you will not satisfy. Not everybody will be satisfied.
Honorable Kafuz, today the European Union, is looking at us from a very different prism. In fact, we're a subject of debate in their parliament, and they condemned all the acts of violence that have been happening. For us to be treated like a pariah state, you, who are in positions of leadership and government and cabinet, have to do something to change Uganda's image, because we seem to be descending in a very difficult position.
Patrick, one, I do not think it's proper for us to, as a sovereign state, to weigh our performance by those who feel they should set standards for us. But that said, or that notwithstanding, we have international standards by which we are required to live and operate. And every time we go off that mark, we shall attract condemnation. It comes naturally. It's not only for Uganda. It is for all countries all over the world. The only unfortunate bit is that the so-called European Union and others who are doing the condemnation are doing it from a position of superiority. If they were doing it, one, by understanding the fact that we are a sovereign state and that we have set standards by which we ought to live, and that we have gone wrong in those standards. As colleagues, we need to come back to the table and say, get back in line. That would please us all and would be glad. Like I said, that notwithstanding, whatever has gone wrong, especially if it has to do with human rights, we are all human beings. We are bound to respect human rights. Anyone who goes astray ought to be brought back in line. We ought to condemn all acts that dehumanize us and others around us, so that we live in a respectful and progressive manner.
Gentlemen, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. And when we come back, I'll open the line so that you too can be a part of this discussion. You'll see the numbers on the screen. You can call us, you tell us your name and where you're from, and please you keep it very short so that we can have many other people to have a discussion on this issue. But should you be having disagreements with my guests here, I ask you to show them respect even when you disagree. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are Honorable Semuju Uganda, Honorable Jackson Kafuzi, and Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki. Gentlemen, before I change topic, because I really needed to look into the issue of Parliament trying to extend their term, the constitutional amendments that have been proposed by, I think, the Shadow Attorney General, the Honorable...
and extension is not one of them.
Well, it is not, at least that one, he made it very clear. But now, moving forward on these issues of security and clashing with us, with the ordinary people, moving forward, what should happen as you as Parliament? Because you have a role.
It's a very difficult question to answer, because people who do these things know that what they are doing is wrong. In fact, since I joined politics around 2011, my experience, if you are either at a political rally or in a protest, when you see them beat journalists, you know the worst is about to come. So we had known. But when you see them, because they don't want to be filmed as they do these things, what shocked me yesterday is that they didn't even care. So they were beating as they were being filmed. What should happen now is for Mr. Museveni to have a cut-off. The things that they are doing, J. Rawlings in Ghana did worse things. He was loading people in helicopters and throwing them in the ocean, until when J. Rawlings, together with the country, said there must be a cut-off, we must open a new chapter. That's how they came up with 2 term limits of 4 years each. And by the way, it is painful to lose power. I went to meet a minister who had been part of J. Rawlings, and he told me, when we lost power, we are contemplating here our next action, only to hear that the they are head of the military. I've forgotten the title they have. They don't have a commander, chief of staff.
Maybe the general
that
staff.
as we are here contemplating how the military can help us, the man who was there congratulating the opposition, he said, we knew we are finished. So they went through hell until they had to enact a transition act with a transitional director, because he said the following day these guys came for us, get out of office, you want to begin work. So until that has happened to Uganda, these soldiers are going to be blamed every day, and then they are doing work that is not theirs. And that's why he would want to justify that there is something for military when someone is taking a petition to the UN.
But
because
really,
they are sorting
but
politics.
to be fair to the UPDF, really, of all the public institutions in Uganda, I've said it before, I think if those that have had the problems, UPDF is an institution that at least has had a pulse, beating positively, at least for some time. It looks a better institution than other institutions.
I don't want to look backwards.
Yes, but
because if you asked me to do so, he was speaking about LRA. You remember Operation North by Otafire, when he closed off the whole of northern Uganda and he was throwing bodies from trucks. So I don't want to go back because the examples are many. I want to look forward. I think we have 2 options. Either collectively, including you Kafuzwa in NRM to force Mr. Museveni out of power and have a new chapter, or to plead with him, and he does what all the others have done. So there is no shortcut in these things, that you are going to be there and then force the population to love you. In the past, it was we fought in Ruero, we brought peace. Children of today, and they are the majority, they don't care about the past. In my area, they were even voting no people who were absent. So that's where we are going. The level of desperation that is in the country need to be handled cautiously and carefully. Or else, I was telling a friend, these elections, at least in the center here, where they are voting anything, there is a possibility that can happen in the future. And that conversation we must have as a country, the level of desperation. Do we deal with it by guns, or we sit down and begin looking for solutions like Uganda did? Whoever has taken that road from Mugabe to Bashir to Hosni Mubarak to Gaddafi speaks about the stability that they have forced here. Gaddafi had stability for 43 years. See the country. See Siad Barre in Somalia, where you are fighting, because he wanted to rule by force. 24 years in power. Now there is no country. The boys who are paying the price were not born when Siad Barre was in power. An opportunity. And even when I had Mr. Museveni on one of the radio stations, I pleaded with him, give us a gift. All his contemporaries, from Kategaya to Mushega, they're all pleading for the same thing. The moment you have a president who doesn't want to leave, and the military is the last resort, Akiki, I don't know how many apologies you are going to make. Even next week you'll be making another one.
But maybe that's a very good safe mode for you, because you're saying there are some rogue elements. You cannot really make sure about 50,000 strong force, anything can happen. So you're preparing us of what is likely to happen tomorrow.
Well, I wish I had the mandate to discuss politics. Unfortunately, partisan politics, I can discuss politics at some point. You know, some people confuse us that we are not supposed to be talking politics, instead of saying we are not supposed to be partisan. One thing is, I want us to look at history. Because without history, there is no present, there is no future. And each of us, each of these countries, each of these examples that have been given have their own histories, have their own backgrounds. And even the different ways those leaders left power, I'm very sure is different. However, I don't want to go to tow that line until my institution says you go into politics. But as you said, this is an institution, you know, when he's mentioning about LRA, and you are looking at the initial stages of LRA, where everybody was studying the dynamics of LRA, until we came to know the dynamics of LRA, until all of us came onto board and fought LRA, until the people of northern Uganda themselves said enough is enough, and LRA was defeated. And by the way, take back at the listener that this is why when something happens by our soldiers against the population, we have never kept a deaf ear. Because we know our strength. Today the CDF was very clear about this. Our strength is the population. Without the population, we are no more. Right. When you see the institution, when you see we are losing... Why didn't the same
CDF apologize for the murders November 18th and 19th?
Well, it is a matter of investigation, because some of those murders are not necessarily by security forces, as far as
you
some
said
of
23 people were killed by stray bullets.
Now, what is a stray bullet? A stray bullet must be justified in courts of law. Somebody may say, yes, some could have died by stray bullets. But when it comes to the process of the law, then a stray bullet will be explained. Evidence will be put forward. So let's not go into the issues of November 18th, because these are matters before court. I don't want to go to break the principle of, is it prejudice? Sub judice. I don't want to go there. So I wouldn't even want to mention it here as an example. So what is important is we have a history as UPDF, and we have made a mark. Kamara, what you are saying is true. It is not only here. It is known across the world and across this continent, Africa.
But that shine is fading off.
Well, at least I can come here, and Honorable Semuju talks and guides, and people are watching and hear his views. And some of these things that come up in these discussions in Parliament, in all forums, thank God, the freedom of speech here is too much. People listen, leaders listen. When they go back in their different institutions, they sit down and pick and learn and correct.
Mr. Deputy Attorney General, don't you think it's better now, you know, if officers mess up in the field, let them be, you know, held criminally responsible for those crimes that have been committed, so that our taxpayer is actually not used to compensate, so that their salaries or whatever they have is attached and they can pay. And in so doing, perhaps that can become a deterrent.
Patrick, we have a law called the Human Rights Enforcement Act.
Yes.
Previously, any individual who felt his or her rights were violated would outrightly sue the state. And I think Article 50 of the Constitution would say you can sue and claim for compensation. In addition to that, the Human Rights Enforcement Act now permits you to sue the individual, okay? The individual perpetrators of these crimes against you as a person. And we have also adjusted the processes in a way that the offending institution is the one that pays compensation. For example,
changes nothing.
No, it does.
So,
because
Ibrahim, are you putting in a budget for something like that?
Let me finish.
That's what he means.
Let me finish. Ordinarily, all compensation would come through the Attorney General. But if Dewa Kiki is the offender, okay, and has been found guilty by courts of law, it should be cut from the budget of the UPDF. That is the procedure.
Then they will come for supplementary. Does it matter?
Yeah, but you see, now
As long as they justify
from
it.
now Parliament, in exercising its oversight role, okay, they need to go over all this and say we gave you a budget, but after giving you a budget, there was money spent to clear the anomalies done by Dewa Kiki. You understand? So in this other budget, we don't want ABCD. So we need all to play our roles equally.
Okay, gentlemen, let me open the line so that maybe we can have Ugandans express themselves, give us their experiences, what they know, what they have seen, and perhaps some guidance in case they are serious. Yes, I have a call online. Hello.
Bampita Ambassador Fabesi Natete, Bade Ngenda wa Jeno. Jeno chenjala kubuuza ngaze Ambassador Fabesi Natete. Koti ya maje temujimaze mu kitiibwa n'okwata abantu 40 n'ogamba bayine mundu ne mubawozeseza mu koti ya maje nga Jamiru mukuru ng'ali mu koti ya bulijjo. Koti ya maje eyo temugenda gimalamu ekitiibwa nga weebadde abantu nga bagityanga bagaba kutwala ku koti ya maje nga omuntu afukane nga omuntu atya naye temugenda kwaba nga mutandise okwemalamu ekitiibwa. N'ekirala mwenga ab'amagye abantu 40 ne bagaba balina magazini emu mwe mwategeera mutya abantu abo gye basula bonna ne mugenda mwazaayo ne mulabayo magazini emu ey'amasasi mwe mwagendayo mutya.
Okay, thank you very much. Akiki, I hope you understand Luganda, but your name being Akiki, I doubt so much whether you can respond in the same kind, but
I have been here since 18 primary.
okay,
so at least
so I cannot dare to
however
translate
broken.
for you, and I hope you will be able to respond. But I think he was making very good contributions. I have another call online. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Moses. Oh, it's unfortunate. We've lost that line to Moses. I'm going to try to make another, take another call. Please, you can see the numbers online on the screen and call us and tell us what you think, your name and where you're from. I have a call online. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Fahadi.
I'm sorry.
I'm calling from Fahadi, calling from Cape Town.
Fahadi in Cape Town. You are on air. Go right ahead, sir.
Yes. Well, my point is about the CDF saying that they are going to implementing the curriculum of the armed forces, like on how they should be handling the media people.
Okay.
I don't think that's right, especially considering the fact that we are supposed to be looking at human rights in general rather than only the media people. If they accept that the military is mishandling the media people, then they should at the same time accept the fact that the media is also mishandling the general public.
Okay.
And so they should be trained in handling humans rather than specifically the media, because in all evidence that has been shown since time immemorial, the military is mishandling almost each and everyone as long as they are not military people. Thank you so very much.
Okay, is this Fahadi? Did you say you're in Cape Town? Is that South Africa? Okay. Siyabonga. Let me take another call. Call online. Hello. Hello. I have a call. All right, it's a pity we lost that line. We're going to pick another call. And then please tell us your name and where you're from and make it brief. I have a call online. Hello.
Yes, hello?
Yes, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, you're on air. Good evening. What's your name?
Yes, thank you, the panelists. I would like to make my contribution.
Yes, go right ahead.
Now, I would like to also add my voice that we need to grow in our politics. The opposition quite a number of times even ask the civilians we watch, and they seem to be provocative. Some of us have even lost relatives in the police, but they never show those things. They always show that the forces who are on the road, and yet we know that the security is important. Without security, the country would have been in shambles. Even as the public, we watch and we can see.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to take just two more callers, and then I'll have my guests to respond. There's only one particular question to Colonel Akiki. I have a call online. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Kamara.
What's your name, sir?
Yes, I'm Lawrence Moore, now calling in from Lenga. I thank all the panelists.
Okay.
But I want to make sure, I want to assure you guys, just like Honorable Simju said, Dale Akiki will always keep on saying the same things, apologizing. We should push for the justice everywhere, because injustice anyway is injustice everywhere. We should not cover these things because people are suffering. There are orphans out there, widowers, crying. Young people are dying because of the army. The trucks knocking people on a daily.
Okay.
I think.
Oh, it's a pity, but you made your point. I'm going to take the very last caller online. Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening to you. My name is Wilbo Wanyama.
Yes, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Chambogo.
All right.
The Deputy Attorney General clearly stated that what the law says about.
Go right ahead. Mr. Wanyama, you are listening to your own echo. Please go right ahead making your statement. Ignore the echo in the background.
Hello?
Oh, it's a pity. I have another caller. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hello, ma'am.
Yes.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Gulu. I'm called Stella.
Stella from Gulu.
Yes.
You're on air, Stella.
Yes. Thank you so much for the panel. I just wanted to ask the commander, because always the UPDF and the soldiers always don't like to beat people so much. If they put all those things in that place, they always, all the time, they're keeping the...
Okay.
They're keeping the explain that this is their role. What is exactly the law say? And you see the things from the northern Uganda. They always like abuse the community. If you go to the court, they always defend themselves.
Okay. Okay, Stella. Lamera, Stella. Apoyo Matek. He is going to be responding to you. I think I can close the lines right now. Okay, maybe you have so many.
All the guns out. Which is very okay, which is very good. First of all, this is what the UPDF is, the People's Army. So when they ask me questions, to me it is very good, and let me answer. I begin with my sister,
Stella.
Stella, if an incident happens and you go to court, definitely you defend yourself. You either win or the other person loses. However, that's why you see we are taking action. That's why you see anybody who does something outside the policies, the guidelines, the rules that govern the UPDF, you are charged. I stayed in northern Uganda for close to, for 12 years. I worked in the north. I worked in all of those, in Gulu, everywhere. And every time and again, because of the insurgents, we used to try our soldiers. And it was very okay. And these were public trials. And people would like it. And at the end of the day, the people came closer to us. We worked together and defeated the insurgency. No soldier is allowed to beat someone or to torture someone or to do anything that is against the law. If it happens, the law should take its course. That's what I can really assure you, Stella. If you have any complaint that happened or somebody beat you and no action was taken, please inform us. We shall go through the commanders and action will be taken and justice seemed to be served. Now there was, unfortunately, I did not pick the name, apology. To me, apologizing when an incident that is bad has happened should never cease, and nobody should get tired of it. But the good thing with the apology of UPDF, we apologize and take action. We apologize and make sure the due process of the law is followed and somebody is punished. And this is a standard all over the world. It's not just unique to Uganda, and we shall continue to do that. As long as we are still in this world, we are bound to make mistakes. There is no angel here. But when a mistake is done, what is important is justice is served. Handling media instead of of other people. Definitely a caller from South Africa. Definitely UPDF has been doing this. By the way, I was in one of the countries where I had gone to do my studies, and somebody asked a question. What is the trick that this UPDF, which they think, which according to that person think that we are ill-paid, we are ill-equipped, and so on. How comes that we have been winning wars everywhere we have, or everywhere we have done? The 29 insurgencies in Uganda, our interventions in Somalia at a very short notice, I mean in South Sudan. Our interventions in Somalia, definitely it is seen as an African Union success story, but we were the vanguard of that mission, and we still continue to hold Somalia together.
Where is the success?
And the other, well, unless you want to deny the facts.
You want
comparatively.
You want Somalia in 2007
comparatively
to train their army. So more than 10 years later, you were still there.
It's not about training only. It's about the entire Somalia, where it was and where it is today.
No, you went under definite mandate. You don't change it yourself.
We have the mandate. We have not changed
our time is out. You could just be respond the last.
What the gentleman, what we told the gentleman is our trick is simple. We work with the people. So the issue of working with the people, I did not get the name of the caller from South Africa. Our
Fahad
is Fahad, Mr. Fahad, thank you. It's because of our insistence of being a pro-people army, despite a few things that happened. Media training, we started on it, but at a very low level. Some of us who appreciate the role of the media, I have been a lecturer myself on every contingent that goes. Our office, we go to lecture about the relationship, actually the role of the media in military operations. And I think now that we have got the support of the CDF, this is going to be to another level, which is good. The last one, army courts losing, did he say meaning? Losing its esteem because of trying civilians, because of putting certain cases of guns. So one, trying of civilians in the military court is provided for. I'm with the Honorable Member of Parliament and the Attorney General. If anybody is found in possession of stores that are a preserve of the military, it is allowed that you will be charged in the military court. I don't want to go into the basics. I'm not a lawyer. Then two is the issue of the gun. You see, a case of a gun is a very complicated case. It always has a string of very many people. To get a gun, even us, if I'm having a gun, anything that I keep with a lot of respect and fear myself, actually I fear a gun more than a civilian. I have seen civilians, somebody's having a gun, it is cocked and is going to grab it. I can't do that. I can't. If somebody cocks a gun to me, I will just kneel down and say, please. I can't do anything. If somebody holds a gun, if somebody has a gun and is arrested, there is always a string. It can lead to even arrest of the whole village because of a lot of attachment, security attachments that are attached to the gun. So even if it is a magazine, we want to know a magazine came how. Even if it was a single bullet, we need to reach to the logical conclusion of how that single bullet came to be in possession of somebody who is not supposed to be.
Okay.
And if, even in the court martial, the civilian lawyers allowed, the people who are charged there are given a chance to appeal. And we have seen these appeals. We have seen civilians taken there and they are won. Actually, they win cases and they are removed and even taken to civilian courts. So I think the legal process, the legal regime of the military court martial works. Where it does not work, and somebody's lawyer...
I was wondering why Jamil Mukulu is in a civilian court and these other whom he considers purely civilian are in military court.
And these are the circumstances I'm saying. The circumstances of Jamil Mukulu proved that he has to be, to continue in the civilian court. If I recall very well, I think most of his people started from the military court before they transitioned into a civil court.
Okay, the Honorable Samuel Uganda, yeah, your parting shot.
There is what the UPDF wants to be and what it is. That's the side he's happy to explain. People, that's what you want to be. Today you are completely a different group. The things that you are doing, you must be ashamed
as
of.
by the definition
you must be ashamed of yourself. That you go and pick civilian, you beat them. When the country gets to know, you abandon them. We have a responsibility. Remember one time I was interviewing all the army commanders when I was still in the media. And I remember specifically a gentleman told me that the people who are in the army today, given a free hand, they can be very good soldiers. Unfortunately, that free hand is not there. We were beaten in parliament by soldiers. When they came, my name had not been read on those who were suspended. I was the first to be arrested. Beaten thoroughly. Then they were abandoned us in Nagarama. So the moment the institution of the military, they asked an NRM person a very simple question. If you look at the people who have retired in the army, they are commanded by a military man. They told me they are reserve, they are part of the reserve. So I asked them, how comes the NRM has a veterans wing within the ridge, within their party? Here, you are commanded by a military person as part of the army, but you are also part of the NRM. And they are the only ones who have it. Veterans wing, ridge. So that fusion and the feeling that when Mr. Museveni is under distress, you must come to his rescue, is what is making you do these things. I know many of you feel very bad about them, but anyway, you do them. So I think, and I want to ask the Honorable Kafuz and others, you have an extra responsibility because you treat where we are not, to plead with everybody who has influence in this government. If you allow competition, please allow it to happen. In my constituency, I want everybody to love me, but it's not possible. So I go in an election, even the one I have given sugar doesn't vote for me. I don't pick a gun and shoot them.
So you have been giving sugar, huh?
But I was here, I told you during COVID, I was distributing food every day.
Okay.
So we have a duty. We have a duty as a country. All that we set out to achieve, theoretically we have. People even changed the name during the constitutional making. From National Resistance Army to Uganda People's Defense Forces. The idea was that this army must be an army for everybody.
All right, thank you so much. Honorable Jackson Kafuzi, your parting shot.
Patrick, we've had a very dark past. And because of that dark past, we've been striving to come out clearly as clean and better prepared operationally and behavior-wise. But what happens is that because of that dark past, any slight thing that goes wrong, it is very easy for people to compare, to turn back, to run back to the past. So I'm very happy that the CDF came out, and that's a first of its kind. He's setting standards, and that should help us so that whoever wants to compare with the past should have better standards to look upon now. I condemn any form of violence. I am very happy with the steps that the CDF took. The Prime Minister has been on record in Parliament that some of the allegations are under investigation. The President has come out clearly. Now, I would request the public to give us the appropriate time to have these investigations carried forward so that their concerns are properly and legally redressed.
Thank you very much. So much, Honorable Jackson Kafuzi. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki, and thank you so much, Honorable Ibrahim Semuju Uganda, and all of you who have been a part of this discussion. I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate your insights. I know we've had a tumultuous past, but some of these episodes are relics of the past. We can leave them there and move on ahead as a better country. I know we are good people and we mean well and we can be better. Let us try to tolerate each other, respect each other, even when we disagree. Good night and God bless Uganda.